Girly Chew Hossencofft was murdered. Bizarre details on the Girly Chew Hossencofft murder.
Girly Chew and her disappearance.
Whose body has never been found.
She was a loving mother, a dedicated employee, and a high-spirited woman adored by all who knew her. But she feared someone wanted to kill her. One day, she vanished, never to be seen again. The primary suspect was nowhere to be found. However, as investigators continued their search, evidence showed that this woman could have been the victim of an awful murder fueled by revenge and an alien obsession. Though our story takes place in New Mexico, the case of Girly Chew begins in California. In 1992, 29-year-old Girly Chew travelled from Malaysia to the United States, a trip she took with one of her close friends annually for the past 4 years. Like most tourists to the US, Girly enjoyed visiting the country's Golden State. One of her stops was the SeaWorld amusement park, which just opened their new Shark Encounters exhibit that year. What started as a normal vacation became a pivotal moment that would forever change Girly's life, a change she could never have possibly imagined. While observing the beautiful ocean life exhibits, another tourist found himself fascinated by Girly's beauty. 27-year-old Disappearance Hossencofft. Disappearance wasted no time getting to know Girly, introducing himself as a geneticist, a doctor who specialises in genetic research. Girly fell fast and hard for this young and intelligent doctor from Switzerland and spent as much time with him as she could before returning home to Malaysia. Distance made no difference to Disappearance, who happily courted Girly overseas. After a short time, Disappearance asked Girly to return to the United States and become his bride. With great excitement, Girly accepted his proposal and they moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico to start their new life together. Settled into her new home, Girly took a job as a bank teller at the local Bank of America, where she proved herself to be a hard-working and dedicated employee. Girly's supervisor described her as a very small young lady with a big personality. With a loving husband and a successful career, Girly was truly living her best life in her new home. And despite being newlyweds, the couple felt ready to have children. Unfortunately, Girly was about to receive some devastating news from her husband. After a few short years of happy marriage, Disappearance informed Girly that he had cancer. To make the situation worse, the couple had tried for 4 years to have a baby, but they had no success. However, Disappearance came up with a surprise for Girly that would make their dreams of a family come true. After one of his business trips, he came home with a baby boy. Disappearance explained to Girly that he had taken cells from her body and created their baby boy in a petri dish using his skills as a geneticist. Did Girly believe Disappearance's sci-fi story about the birth of their son? No one knows. Either way, Girly fell in love with this little boy and they named him Dimitri. Though the couple finally got the family they wanted, Disappearance became distant. He lost interest in spending time with his wife and child and spent more and more of his time away from home working. Disappearance said he had reached a breakthrough in his genetics research and began sharing his exciting news with people he knew. He said his discovery would transform the human body, allowing humans to live much longer, youthful and healthier lives. Disappearance was able to convince others that he found the fountain of youth. However, he struggled to complete his research due to lack of funding. Though such an idea sounds more like a fictional story than reality, many people eagerly gave their money to assist Disappearance's research, hoping to receive the benefits that Disappearance promised. One of these investors was Disappearance's 70-year-old neighbour, Pedro Tarando, who gave his entire life savings to support Disappearance's research. Tarando's son, Pedro Jr., became highly concerned when he discovered his father had given up all his money to support such a venture.
Something about being able to change the structure of human beings, the chemistry, somehow from carbon-based to some other form. It was making an amazing amount of money.
But there was nothing he could do. The money was gone and his father had complete faith in Disappearance's ability. Back in the Hossencofft home, Girly was becoming more and more concerned. When Disappearance was home, he was abusive toward Dimitri and distant toward her. The gradual transformation of her once affectionate partner into a detached and unloving man left Girly puzzled and confused, and she did her best to shield Dimitri from Disappearance. Girly had a strong feeling that her husband was keeping secrets. She waited until Dyson was on one of his business trips and then entered his office, searching for clues to make sense of her husband's troubling behaviour. It turned out Dyson's travel had nothing to do with his work. He had been spending time with other women. Many other women. To add to Girly's heartbreak and confusion, she came across papers that revealed Dyson had been lying to her about who he really was. His real name was not Girly Hossencofft from Switzerland, but Armando Chavez from Houston, Texas. Why was Dyson lying about his identity, and what else could he possibly be hiding? Girly confronted Dyson about what she had learned, and in response, he attacked her by choking and punching her. This was only a taste of the abuse that Girly would endure. By now, Girly had been married to Dyson for 6 years. One evening, Girly headed to her car parked in the garage. Upon entering the garage, she found Dyson loosening the wheel nuts on her car's tyres. Girly confronted him about damaging her car, to which Dyson responded with violence. Luckily, Girly was able to escape the horrific attack. Having had enough of the nightmare she was living, Girly called the police, asked for help to get her stuff out of her home, and left. She moved into an apartment in uptown Albuquerque and quickly filed for divorce. At this point, Dyson was already working his way into another woman's life, an older woman named Julie McGuire, whom he met on a dating website. Dyson found out that Julie shared his fascination with the supernatural.
You add it up, I'm many years old. 100? And he says, no more than that. He says, I'm part alien. I'm thinking he's crazy as a bedbug. He said, I had a serum out that you're injected and your skin's gonna change back to the way it was when you were younger. And he says, well, the first injection will be the most, and that's $3,200.
Dyson told Julie she would need 12 injections over a 6-year period before the serum would take effect. Having a strong desire to retain her youth and beauty, Julie was convinced by the geneticist. But it wasn't long before Julie became suspicious of her new half-alien boyfriend and his miracle serum. Julie decided to ask a friend of hers, who worked in law enforcement, to perform a background check on Dr. Hossencofft. From the background check, Julie found out he was married. Her investigation didn't end there. Somehow, Julie was able to get a sample of his injections and get it tested. It turned out Dyson was injecting her with vitamin B12. Knowing Dyson was conning her out of her money, she refused to take any more injections, but she didn't kick him out of her life. Julie confronted Dyson about his wife, and he assured her that they were getting a divorce. He also said his wife was going to be taken care of by a close friend. Though Julie heard Dyson flat out say he was going to have his wife killed, she didn't inform the police. She assumed he was only venting his frustrations with his divorce. Julie finally had enough of Dyson's lies and ended their relationship. Meanwhile, the divorce from Girly turned into a nasty custody battle that ended in Dyson winning full custody of their child Dimitri, banning Girly from ever seeing their son again. However, being a single parent to a child he cared nothing about made his job as a con artist much more difficult and prolonged his ability to find another meal ticket. So, without Girly's knowledge, he put Dimitri up for adoption. Girly was devastated, but worked hard to move on with her life, leaving the traumatic past with Dyson behind. On Friday, September 10th, 1999, Girly, who was expected at work that morning, never showed up. Girly's co-workers were worried. Girly was a reliable employee, never missed a day of work, and always on time. They also knew about the abuse Girly was struggling with at home, and that Girly feared for her life. She had told her co-workers, if I don't show up for work, something happened, and my husband was involved. Quickly, Girly's co-workers called the police to inform them of the situation. Skeptical, the police headed out to investigate Girly's apartment, despite the fact she had been missing for less than an hour. The police arrived at Girly's apartment and knocked on the door, but no one responded. Girly's landlord was aware of the frightening situation with her ex-husband, so he gave the police access to her apartment. Upon opening the door, bleach fumes burned their nose, and they quickly noticed stains on the carpet that showed someone had recently tried to clean up a spill. Having been informed of Girly's abusive husband, investigators decided to pay a visit to the known address of Dr. Hossencofft. Unfortunately, the house was empty. Later that afternoon, a road worker made a shocking discovery on a highway in Magdalena, New Mexico, about 103 miles south of Albuquerque. The road worker informed the police, and when they arrived at the scene, they saw the man had found women's clothing covered in blood, a bloody tarp, and a piece of duct tape with long strands of dark-coloured hair stuck to it. Back at Girly's apartment, investigators found traces of cat hair, but nothing in the apartment indicated that Girly owned a cat. Since Dyerson's home was abandoned, the police acquired a search warrant for the home. During their search, the police found the adoption papers for Dimitri. The police looked into Dimitri's background and found out his biological mother was not Girly, but a woman Dyerson was having an affair with in Canada. Somehow, Dyerson convinced his Canadian mistress to give him the baby, and he brought the little boy home to Girly. While reading through the adoption paperwork, investigators found an emergency contact number for a woman named Linda Henning, along with a receipt for a ninja sword, which was not found in the home. So, who is this mystery woman that had access to such confidential information? Linda Henning met Dyerson at a UFO conference about 6 weeks before Girly went missing. After meeting Dyerson, Linda proclaimed that he was one of the smartest people she had ever met. Linda quickly grew obsessed with Dyerson, going as far as calling off her wedding to her then fiancé to be with him. She believed that she finally found her true love in Dyerson. One of Linda's friends, Steve Zachary, thought otherwise and hired a private investigator, Stephen Trusnevec, to learn more about Dr. Hossencofft.
Was she drugged? Was she hypnotized? What happened? This guy was a complete fraud.
Trusnevec had a sit down with Linda to find out what she knew about this doctor. During their conversation, Trusnevec was blown away when Linda told him there was a cryogenic tube located at the end of her street for a reptilian alien race that was coming to start a war on Earth. Somehow, Dyerson convinced Linda, who already had an interest in UFOs, that she had been chosen to become the new queen of the world, and she had to protect Earth from the alien reptile race that was coming. To do that, she had to get rid of the current reptile alien queen, Girly Chew.
Girly Chew was an alien queen, and I must defeat her.
2 weeks after Girly's disappearance, police found Dyerson. He had been hiding out in South Carolina with another woman he had planned to start a new life with. That woman was not Linda Henning, but another potential victim. He was arrested and immediately brought back to New Mexico to stand trial for Girly's disappearance. Police soon learned about his involvement with Linda and brought her in for questioning.
I believe that there is an incredibly strong alien presence on this planet, and I believe that they are involved in the United States government. I believe that they have an agenda of genocide, of eradicating the human presence on this planet.
By now, the test results had come back on the bloody items found on the highway in Magdalena and the stains in Girly's apartment. The blood from the items matched Girly Chew, so did the blood from the apartment. But the blood from the apartment also contained traces of Linda's DNA. With her DNA found at the scene of the crime, Linda confessed to her romantic relationship with Dyerson, but said she didn't have anything to do with Girly's disappearance.
Did he kill her? I don't know. I didn't question it. It was really none of my business.
She claimed she was home on the night of Girly's disappearance and that Dyerson was with her. Did she truly believe that Dyerson was innocent? Was she that desperate to become the reptile alien queen? Or was there a more sinister reason? With Linda's DNA found in Girly's apartment, investigators obtained a search warrant for Linda's property. While looking through Linda's garage, police discovered a ninja sword that matched the receipt found in Dyerson's home. They also found out that Linda owned a lot of cats, which could explain the cat hair found in Girly's apartment. After this discovery, Dyerson knew he had been caught. He agreed to plead guilty to Girly's murder, but only as long as the government would not seek the death penalty for him, but instead serve a life sentence in the Wyoming State Penitentiary. Though Dyson admitted to the murder, he refused to provide the location of Girly's remains. Though it was her blood found in Girly's apartment, Linda refused to admit any guilt in Girly's murder. Instead, she claimed she was another one of Dyson's victims and that she was framed. Since Linda wouldn't admit having anything to do with Girly's murder, the police could not obtain a location on Girly's remains from her. The police even told Linda if she would provide them with the location of Girly's body, they would reduce her sentence, but Linda refused. Though Linda never admitted to this in court, prosecutor Paul Spears claimed that Linda had told multiple people in prison that she had eaten Girly's flesh, so no one would ever find her remains. Spears suggested that Dyson and Linda consumed Girly's blood and flesh as part of an initiation ritual to establish Linda's position as the new alien queen. Linda's court date was set for September 2002. Without Girly's body and Linda's confession, and only the words of a con artist to go by, investigators could only speculate on what happened to Girly's remains. They deduced that Linda showed up at Girly's apartment, knocked on the door, and gained access. Once inside, Linda attacked Girly, who did her best to fight back. With her accomplice, a mutual friend of hers, and Dyson, Linda was able to tie up and murder Girly. Dyson showed up at the apartment later to clean up any evidence left behind. The sword, purchased by Dyson and found in Linda's home, was believed to play a role in Girly's murder, but not as the murder weapon. Investigators believed that Girly was shot to death, then dismembered using the ninja sword. Linda had told one of her close friends that she was given the sword because she was appointed Queen of the World and she must learn how to use it to battle other queens. From there, they disposed of Girly's body, but investigators could only imagine where and how. 3 years after Girly disappeared, Linda's trial finally began. Linda was still convinced of Dyson's lies about the reptilian race that was coming to wipe the human race off the face of the earth. It was discovered that Linda, though an intelligent and fully functional adult, had a mental health issue, a delusional disorder, which was why she was such an easy target for Dyson and his crazy reptile alien story. Many witnesses were called during the trial, but the most shocking witness to enter the courtroom was Dyson, and he did not try to hide his murderous intentions toward Girly.
Society views murder as the most heinous crime known to mankind. But when you decide you're going to commit murder, you decide that you're going to trade your life for theirs. I did that.
She knew that you were looking for her, and she knew
she was going to be hunted like the dog she was. And yes, she knew, like a scared rabbit in an open field, she knew.
Dyson took full responsibility for Girly's murder, trying to get Linda off the hook. But unlike the many people Dyson deceived, the jury did not buy his story. The trial lasted for 25 days. On October 25, 2002, Linda was found guilty of kidnapping and murdering Girly Chew. On April 18, 2003, Linda was sentenced to serve 73 years in prison. Girly's family had a letter written by Girly's father that was read in the courtroom at the end of Linda's trial. The letter read, "Our family, relatives, colleagues, and close friends have gone through terrible emotional turmoil and distress that words could not describe the agony for the past 3 years. Our happiness was robbed from us, and the life of our Girly, which was brought up and nurtured with love and guidance, were taken from us at a very young age of 36 by Dyson Hossencofft and Linda Henning, which they thought were God, or rather a more appropriate word to describe, devil, to take away life. Since no one involved in Girly's murder will tell what they did with her remains, the family was denied the opportunity to give her a proper burial and put her soul to rest. The family has shared their ongoing grief as they struggle with the fact that they will never find the closure they desperately need after losing their beloved daughter.